Hello and welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. After Justice N.V. Ramana, the Chief Justice of India, took that meeting last week, what we saw is that we will have courts operating in the digital mode for the next 6 weeks. Today, we are going to discuss our topic, which is back to digital courts again, but also what were the lessons from the first phase of digital courts for India's leading litigation law firms and one of the top councils in this country. May I welcome Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, third time sitting MP, senior advocate at the Supreme Court of India. He has also served as the Additional Solicitor General of India. May I welcome senior advocate Parag Tripathi. He has served as the Additional Solicitor General of India, top counsel at the Supreme Court of India. May I welcome senior advocate Ryan Karanjawala. He's the managing partner of Karanjawala and Company, one of India's leading litigation law firms. May I welcome Mahesh Agarwal. He is managing partner of Agarwal Law Associates, one of India's leading litigation law firms. We will get on to the topic directly. May I request Dr. Singhvi to lay the ground of first, we are back to digital courts, and you were rather busy in the first phase of digital courts and you were being discussed in this town. So may I also want to know what were your lessons when you appeared so much via VC in our part one of digital courts?
Let me come to the particular, Tarun, after some general comments. And, I'm concerned that COVID seems to have already reached the equivalent of the Greek letter of O, which is Omicron. And, the next few letters, pi, rho, sigma. It seems that COVID should not be allowed to exhaust the Greek alphabet. Therefore, we have to be prepared for the long haul. We don't realize that it's reached the letter O. Of course, it left out Z, which is immediately prior to O because of the Chinese connection. But it should not be allowed to proceed. We must make our COVID systems of work more or less permanent is the first lesson, continuous and permanent. It also means that work from home indeed now should mean work from anywhere, because you do not know when what will happen in these various fast multiplying mutations. I think the 2 or 3 particularized points apropos what you asked. One is that the lower courts, the trial court, and I would say even to an extent the high court outside of Delhi, needs to be considerably strengthened. We tend to make the discussion very Supreme Court centric. The vast bulk of problems, of attractions, of issues, of people, of numbers is all outside of the Supreme Court. And there, I think even today, we talk of the lowest level of the courts. People say half the systems are not functioning. 1 quarter needs to be strengthened. People still do not have, virtual, etc. That's where, and secondly, it links to the general angst. Otherwise, there's no logic to the angst. There is a lot of angst about virtual hearings. Why is it? Because the lower level people and the middle level people feel that they are deprived of the access to numbers. And that happens because the systems in terms of technology at the lowest levels are not good. That needs a lot of attention. Also, I think in the Supreme Court, the quantity somehow gets curtailed into some kind of a quota system when COVID comes. That again leads to a lot of angst. There is no reason now, we are in virtually the second year plus of COVID, where you should, if you are forced to, do quantities of disposal and listings similar to what you would do in normal times. Because not having listings for the less well endowed is a major cause of not only anxiety, but of anger. And I think also this uniformity of the protocol is important. I find that within the same court, protocols vary. And I'm not talking of individuals. I'm saying it creates a lot of uncertainty and inconvenience. Within the same court of the Delhi High Court, some individual courts will use a different protocol. Others will use a different protocol in terms of physicality, hybrid, or only virtual. That happens even in some courts in the Supreme Court. So I think we need to sort this out. And irrespective of what you do, there has to be uniformity. I would say, in fact, the uniformity should be made as far as possible to extend across the courts in India. But in the end, the opening part, I would say this, that we need to realize that this is a storm we are going through. As was put in a very nice article recently in the Times of India about how COVID has changed things forever. He said, when you go into the storm, you're never the same when you come out as when you went in. That's the meaning of the storm. So it has changed us immeasurably. Obviously, it has and should change the court system. And we must learn now to make ourselves completely ready for it may be a gap of 6 good months, and then again something may strike. So we have to make our systems permanent.
You're on mute, Mr. Dangia.
We have to make our systems permanent with regards to the digital code infrastructure. That is what Dr. Singhvi ended with. I'll go to Senior Advocate Parag Tripathi. You, as I have seen, are now very adept with technology. You do a lot of appearances online all through shifting between courts. What are the lessons from the first phase regarding issues like mentioning if there is a client's urgent requirement, is it easy to come by, or some other issues or some lessons that you would like to share with the viewers?
Yeah, Tarun, I think taking up from where Abhishek left, I think there are 3 centric movements we have to be very, very particular and careful about. One, we have to cease to be Supreme Court or maybe 1 or 2 premier high courts like Delhi, etc. centric. We have to be India centric and not just Delhi centric in Supreme Court and High Court. Secondly, in the non-Delhi centric courts, we have to go down to the trial court, and that should be the primary focus, that you have the technology there. And thirdly, and most importantly, I call it the John Doe lawyer. That is the average lawyer who doesn't have all the equipment at his command. That is what leads to anxiety, because he normally will make his money when he physically files it. The client will pay him then. That anxiety leads to anger. That anger leads to unmanageable problems. So we have to be lawyer John Doe centric. What it means in a nutshell is that there have been gains of technology. Those gains of technology have now to be consolidated and used on a permanent basis. Take the case of the question which you asked me about mentioning. Not so long ago, we used to do mentioning by a subterfuge which was graciously ignored by almost all the benches of the Supreme Court. That is, we would show ourselves as number 1, and then, though we were not in item number 1, mention it. Because there was a technological gap there. Mentioning was not on as a part of the virtual hearing. That has now been rectified in the Supreme Court. You have a mentioning slot where you come as mentioning so-and-so. So there is this technological learning which we must protect and preserve. I find, particularly in tribunals, what has happened is the hybrid system is not working. So the difficulty is that if somebody is on a virtual mode, the voice comes as a booming thunder in the court if you're there physically. And if you're physically there and you argue, and if you consciously, and in case of some of us, deliberately don't put on the switch, the judge is able to hear you, but the other side is not able to hear you. Now, some of the courts take a view and tribunals take a view. That's between the 2 of you lawyers. We are hearing, we'll go ahead. So we need to address that so that this hybrid hearing can go on. And I think if we can just improve the quality of hybrid hearing, this whole problem, this great pressure which comes that please make everything physical will go, because people will have an option to either address it on a physical basis or a virtual basis, and people from both sides will be able to hear each other and the court. That is how I think it should be worked out. So you need tweaking of the hybrid technology where hybrid functioning becomes very easy, and spread it to the non-Delhi courts and the what we call the grassroots judiciary, focusing on the lawyer John Doe.
Okay. Focusing on the lawyer John Doe, which is the lowest common denominator or people at the bottom of the pyramid in the legal structure, is what Senior Advocate Parag Tripathi was hinting at. Mr. Ryan Karanjawala, now you run one of India's leading litigation law firms. A lot of filing happens in the Supreme Court, the Delhi High Court and other courts. The first phase and now the second. What has changed for you? What have been your lessons from the law firm's point of view?
So, the first thing to remember is that there has been a sense of constant development. Initially, when people started talking on Zoom and arguing through Zoom, there were a lot of hitches. Things have improved. What the third phase has taught us is what both Manu and Parag said earlier, which is that we should now try to achieve as far as possible in the courtroom system that the virtual hearing actually mirrors the real hearing. So it's like a virtual switch from where you can go from one to another without too much of a loss. Because in the early phases, what we saw was that the courts were able to handle only a few kind of cases, the very urgent, the very important, and therefore the general lawyer who had an average case was not able to get the hearing that he wanted, which he would have been able to do in real time. So one thing you have to do is to first bring technology so much up to scratch and available to everyone that the system of virtual hearing, God forbid if it is needed again in the future, just mirrors the system of an actual real hearing. So it virtually will end up in a situation where the lawyer may well, in fact, save time because he doesn't have to go to court. He can function from his office. He can hear, he can make his case. The judges understand it. The other side gets it said and things continue. Because one gap we found in the original days, as Parag pointed out, as Mahesh also pointed out in an earlier show, was that the whole system of mentioning had been abandoned. And the whole system of mentioning is very important in the Supreme Court for the purpose of listing, getting your matters listed. In the Delhi High Court, for example, it's not so important because you can get your matter listed on the next day. Now, fortunately, the Supreme Court has also come to a situation where more and more the virtual hearing mirrors the real hearing, hearing in real time. So that's one good progress. The other thing, of course, is that when we go to court today, either in a virtual mode or in a real mode, as and when it happens, 2-3 things will have happened. One is that most people would have either been previously infected and therefore less susceptible to the infection, or been vaccinated. And in any case, medication itself today is much better and much more easily available. So the dread with which the whole disease is looked upon, and especially this variant, people find it is milder. So I do hope that this time the court is also able to adjust its program quicker. If they suddenly find the numbers shooting up quickly, they clamp down, they go into virtual mode. If they find that the numbers are suddenly coming down, they again switch to the normal hearing. So I do hope this is something also that we can look forward to.
Okay, point well taken. I'm going to Mahesh Agarwal now. Your firm takes care of a lot of filing in Supreme Court, Delhi High Court and other courts. I want to know 2 things from you. A, what is the future given your learnings from the past? Do you think digital is here to stay in the sense that we'll now always have a few judges who will only operate in the digital mode? Or what are your expectations? And do you think that now this is how we will function forever in terms of a portion of courts being always digital?
So I don't think it's a forever model, but definitely it's a sustainable option which should be preserved for some time. Correct. Now, there are 2 kinds of matters in any court. One is miscellaneous, which are fresh matters which take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. That can definitely be on virtual mode forever. And if we do that, then we avoid crowds, we avoid numbers of hundreds of people coming to the court. So that's a sustainable model which can be for the future. Insofar as final hearings are concerned, that I think the comfort, the convenience and the effectiveness is definitely there when you're physically in court. But having said that, what I feel like Dr. Singhvi said, what is happening now is that the moment you shift to virtual mode, the sacrifice is done of all the old matters. For example, in the Delhi High Court, automatically old matters of 19, 20 and previous years are not even taken up. And what is happening, only new matters and the urgent matters are taking up. That creates a lot of discomfort and agony to the clients and also to lawyers. If we are shifting to a sustainable virtual option, the systems have improved substantially. People have got familiar. Judges are familiar. The staff is familiar. Why can we not have normal court working during virtual times? For example, the matters of 17, 18, 19 matters which are languishing should be heard the way they were earlier. There is no difference. Whether it's virtual or physical, same kind of matters which were being heard earlier can be heard now. Having said that, still there is a substantial improvement. Like mentioning since the Supreme Court have been completely sorted out. There was a big problem with regard to platform. Now the platform is WebEx, which is a very good, stable platform, and there are no problems. Only issue is apparently the Supreme Court doesn't trust the lawyers to control their own mic. So what is happening in Delhi High Court is we have the control of the mic. When we have to speak, we unmute or mute. In Supreme Court, the control of the mic is with the court master. That creates huge problems. Sometimes you actually genuinely want to say something, you cannot. You want to mention something in between, you cannot. Lawyers are unmuted for no reason. Now, the court has to trust the lawyers. The court has to trust people who are participating the way it is happening in all other courts. So I feel that now with the system which has been on for more than 1 year, the lawyers can be trusted to control their own mic. That's a very important thing. Having, settled with the system, with the mentioning, this is something, if that is sorted out, a major progress can happen. And secondly, the matter should be heard regularly.
Matter should be heard regularly. 17, 18, 19, which is 2017, 18, 19. Earlier matters should also be heard. That is what Mr. Mahesh Agarwal is
requesting. In all forums, whether it's National Forum, NCLT, High Court, there are lists which come, which say 2019 matters adjourned by 6 months. 2018 matters adjourned by 6 months. If we have got used to the system of virtual working, we are used to that, clients are aware, judges are familiar, why can't we have courts working normally? Like Dr. Singh said, the functioning of the virtual court should mirror the normal court. There should be no difference. If that is so, there will be no angst, no agony.
Point well taken. On this note, we'll take a short break and we'll speak to Dr. Singhvi on the other side of the break. Welcome back. Just before the break, we had Mr. Mahesh Agarwal sharing with us about cases pertaining to 2017, 18, 19 should not be adjourned, what he says. I'll go to Dr. Singhvi. Sir, two things. A, how will this work? Cases pertaining to immediate past years, 17, 18, 19 be heard? And since you argue so much in the Supreme Court, is doing a final hearing on digital mode really troublesome? What are the practical problems you face when you do that?
As they say, Tarun,
yeah, you're audible now.
Both God and devil have the details, and some very interesting detail points have been made, and we face it every day. Now, I think Mahesh made a very important point, which I was about to make about the button. For people who have to speak like us, it's a major problem because what happens is you are unmuted right in the beginning. Now you're waiting. When the other man is arguing, the other man could take sometimes as much as 20 minutes, although it's rare, but he'll take, let's say, 10 minutes. During those 10 minutes, you cannot even seek instructions from your own counsel, the own person briefing you or telling you information, because that will carry unless you put the button off. Now, the right to put the button off is with you, but then the right to put it on again is lost. And then you start waving your hands. Now, I don't see any reason to it. In fact, the Supreme Court unfortunately took almost a year to switch from its earlier system to WebEx, which should have been done much, much earlier. Having switched, this small little caveat is totally unnecessary. WebEx is the same WebEx. We have done it in the High Court. Let me tell you, the High Court population of both cases, clients, advocates is humongous compared to the Supreme Court. If it has more or less worked without trespass of a very egregious kind in the High Court, I think the Supreme Court, as Mahesh rightly puts it, must adapt to that, because the process is of waving your hand, putting off to seek instruction, then putting on again, and then sending a message is a very discontinuous process. And I may be lucky to have people assisting me. Everybody may not have that kind of person. So, I mean, what should one do? Should he concentrate on the merits, on the notes, on this technological switch, etc.? It becomes very difficult. That's one. Second, I think ultimately the crux of the matter is that if we are now faced with COVID as an embedded structural element, and I hate to say it, and I don't mean that it is an embedded part of our life for the future, but you have to assume the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Now, assuming that that has become a structural part, then really you have to use the word which Ryan used, mirror. It must come back to a situation where you can make no qualitative and quantitative differences. It must be the same thing. You cannot. I personally believe that one of the biggest problems in virtual is, especially when the infections are at a peak, you asked me the other problem, is that we do not have the requisite assistance. I would like very much one person in the team briefing me who knows the case inside out to be next to me. That is, we are used to in physical courts. Otherwise, also all kinds of factual issues arise. Instructions have to be given from the client. Now, you alone, sitting by yourself in the heat of infections, cannot do it. You need a person around. But assuming that you are making this permanent, this system, then you will have to face the fact that even regular hearings, which require that kind of assistance for much longer, you cannot make a qualitative difference between that and the miscellaneous hearing, because otherwise you will then have a situation where in COVID, you will only get to hear the miscellaneous and the semi-regulars and not the real regulars. So you need to get used to that system. These buttons, for example, allowing some sanitized system whereby somebody sitting at a distance from you and instructing you will have to make do, because God forbid it becomes structural, then regulars have to be heard. And a lot of people, and then otherwise you'll come back to the same thing. This thing about lists of 2020, 19 and 18. Now, imagine the amount of angst it causes an ordinary lawyer who cannot have his matters heard of that year. And therefore, you have to start believing that you are doing exactly what you were doing in non-COVID times through the virtual mode during COVID times. I think that fine-tuning on small nitty-gritties, which includes mentioning the button, the availability of assisting people, the listing of old matters, all will have to be attended to specifically by the teams which look into the SOPs.
Okay. These are a very good set of points made by Dr. Singhvi. I'll go to Senior Advocate Parag Tripathi for his opinions on the issues that were raised and also said by both our other panelists. Senior Advocate Tripathi.
Tarun, I think excellent points have been made all around. But I think the most fundamental point, and we must remember that, is the point of public acceptance of hybrid and virtual hearing and acceptance by lawyers at large. Because without that, it is not going to work. Despite all the fine-tunings which we do, whether it is mentioning, whether it is the button problem, whether it is having a team who is briefing you attended, because these are problems which are faced by comparatively smaller section. You need general acceptance. You need and when I said lawyer John Doe, it was not at all meant in a derogatory way. All of us, or most of us, have started as lawyer John Does. You progress thereon. Many people who today don't have these facilities would be the leaders will be the Nani Palkiwalas of tomorrow. So there's an institutional stake in protecting them, quite apart from the other stakes of equity and fairness of the system. So it's not a small issue. It's a very big issue, and it has to be addressed. And there, I think Mahesh made a very interesting point, which was that when you look at hybrid, we only look at hybrid as a temporal hybrid. That is a simultaneous hybrid. Simultaneous hybrid means I'm speaking and you're physically there. But you have to look at it as a temporal hybrid also. Before morning, you have miscellaneous, that is before lunch, which will be hybrid, or which will be only virtual. After lunch, you have old final hearings, which will be physical. Therefore, you'll have to work out a system where this very important need of public acceptability and survival of such of our lawyer friends who are not as fortunate as the four of us who are here. Because as one leading senior counsel had told me that, remember, for all your successes, etc., you are not the one responsible. You've had great dollops of luck, which others have not had. So therefore, for others who need to come up, it is very necessary that we make this system acceptable, not only to the public and the average litigant, but to the average lawyer, and build that infrastructure, because without it, there'll always be a problem. And to conclude, I must tell you, Omicron, fortunately, is, as rightly pointed out by one Nobel laureate in medicine, a genetic mistake of this foolish virus. Next time, it may not make a genetic mistake. It may come up with something which is Delta ++. So we have to be very careful to keep our gains intact and use this time to develop the infrastructure so that we are ready. And there should be an automatic grading. So we don't have to wait for individual orders. The moment you find that there is a certain level of activity of the virus, you automatically go to grade 2, grade 3, as you do for the rest of the nation, so that it becomes much easier for everybody. Thank you.
Point well taken. I go to Mr. Ryan Karanjawala. You saw Dr. Singhvi making a set of points on the practical issues when making arguments. Senior Advocate Parag Tripathi then put out his opinion on this issue. If you can highlight 2-3 issues that you feel need to be addressed by the Chief Justice of India.
So one of the practical issues that we face is that somehow the system of virtual hearing today slows down the number of cases a court can do. And that is why today you find that an average court doing virtual hearings, as many matters are not heard as would be in real time. Now, one of the ways to address this, and the Chief can do it and the Chief Justice of different high courts can do it, is that they take additional working time and add to the court work. Supposing a normal court works 4 hours, or 4.5 hours. So from 10:30 to 4 o'clock. Then you just add half an hour every day. If you're doing it in virtual mode, you save that time in any case, insofar as travel and things like that are concerned, and assembling in court and reassembling and things like that. So you add half an hour of your working time so that there is more time available between the court and the lawyer and the client. And maybe you can, depending on how much work you're able to finish, add half a Saturday. Because one thing is certain, which is that the court, which is already bogged down by areas, will continuously be further bogged down unless you find a way to rectify the inbuilt delays or the inbuilt slowness of the virtual hearing. This is because somehow this is a system.
Point well taken. I'll go to Mahesh Agarwal for a final point. Now, see, we started this in the March of 2020. In about another 60 days, we will be in the March of 2022. So it seems like now a lifetime, and law firms have to run, litigants have thousands of crores at stake. Any appeals to the Chief Justice of India? What should be done to better the digital court system for us?
See, we have to normalize it to the level that after 2 years, we should stop having this discussion of virtual versus hybrid, virtual versus physical. This is the normal. We have to adjust to this, and it has huge advantages to everybody if it works well. Juniors, new lawyers who do not have much practice have no court fear in arguing before a screen. A young lawyer enters the court, he's overawed by the court. That fear is not there. That's a major advantage. And now we see, whether it's Delhi High Court or Supreme Court, lawyers from all over India coming and appearing and very effectively. A good chance is given to many lawyers to appear and argue very effectively. That's a very big thing which is happening, and people are opening up. So that's a very good thing. Second, the way to normalize things now is to follow the US pattern of fixing time limits. You cannot have a situation that final hearings or regular hearings go on for days together. The briefs are with the lawyers. The judges have read the matter. There can be a time limit system of, say, 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever time limit is fixed as making a correct assessment. That will go a big way in clearing the pendency. The biggest problem which has happened in the last 2 years is the pendency has multiplied all over India. I really fear as to how we'll be able to gallop forwards to take care of this pendency. And it is important that before things go out of control, some things are done right away. Therefore, the time limitation is a must to close matters. Next point is listing, which is very, very important in the Supreme Court. Till 2 years back, before this COVID started, there was a set pattern. There was a circular by the court that if a SLP is, say, numbered by Tuesday, it will be listed next Monday. If it is numbered by Saturday, it will be listed next Wednesday, Thursday. Now, that is given a go-by. Matters are not listed for 6 months. There is no logical reason. Now, if a matter has been numbered in July, August, September, there should be automatic listing. Now, that creates multiple problems because unnecessary you have to mention, unnecessary you have to follow up. There are 2 lawyers who are already always following up with the registry to list. If a matter has been filed, there has to be some time limit within which it should be automatically listed. Now, that is something which can be done very, very easily. So my point is that in this hybrid, in this virtual system, things can normalize and we can improve in such a great way that it's good for all. And the litigants also don't suffer and the lawyers also don't suffer. Things can be improved.
On this listing issue, I'll go to Mr. Karanjawala also. Do you think there can be some structured mechanism to address the listing issue? Or do you think the way it's going, there is not much you can change?
No, certainly Mahesh gave the right idea, which is that look at the past. If you had a situation where you file a number on a particular day, it's automatically listed. There's no reason why you can't reinstate that system and put it on for virtual hearing and let it be heard virtually. You have standard operating procedures in so many other ways. Why don't you have a standard operating procedure for mentionings or listings? And Mahesh rightly said that in the past, this was the procedure the Supreme Court followed. Just go back to it. Let it come automatically so that this tension that the client has and the lawyer, the advocates on record have, अरे भाई matter कब list होगा sir, अब कर रहे sir, ये कर रहे वो कर रहे, then goes. Manu wants to say
Dr. Singhvi had to.
Just as you're ending, Tarun, I think we have to realize this, that we are talking again and again of an exception. And as rightly said by all the other speakers, including Mahesh last, it has to be the new normal. Now, the best indictment of this, and we had a valid justification in defense of that indictment in the first year. It was something new. We didn't know anything about the virus. We didn't know anything about virtual hearings. So it's an understandable excuse. But today in the second year, we have no such excuse. Now, the worst indictment of this is that between 2020 and now, the total arrears in the country, and you have to see India as a whole, have mounted from the already humongous, staggering 3 crores, 30 million, to 4 point some crores, just over 4 and 4.1 crores. Now, this net addition is the gift of COVID. It is the gift partly of the failure of the hybrid or virtual systems also. So it is in that sense an indictment. We have got this huge infrastructure, huge technology, huge talk, and we are all doing our best. But at the end of the day, we have added a net 1 crore cases. These are alarming figures, the point which Mahesh made, and I'm giving you a figure for it. And I think for this, everything has to be done, because unless you consider it the new normal, that you assume, I mean, obviously it should not happen and we're not saying it will be, you assume that COVID is there for 2 more years and then start designing the system for it to function.
Okay. We've got 1 minute, 1.5 minutes late. So before we log out, Senior Advocate Parag Tripathi, Dr. Singhvi said net addition of 1.5 crore cases. We should be thankful to just...
Not 1.5.
You're saying something?
1.2.
1.2. We have to thank Justice Ramana that at least the appointments have started happening. But do you think that they now happen faster? Because the one way that appointment should happen, so at least in digital mode also, disposal gets off faster.
Yeah, that's very true. Appointments, these are all part of the infrastructure. The appointments and the functioning of the registry. Because what is often forgotten is that the functioning of the registry, even during the peak of COVID, remained largely physical as opposed to purely virtual. So these are the areas which have to be looked into. And as I said, to go back to my point again of public acceptance and acceptance by lawyers at large, that is very important. Whereas it is very important to focus on the difficulties in the Supreme Court and High Court, but we have to remember that the acceptance will come when the lawyer at large accepts it. And in the trial court, a lawyer finds, as Mahesh said and Ryan said, that look, things are as they were before. Our work is functioning as it was before. So the virtual has to replicate the real and physical. That is the key thing. That's
a very important point to end this show. In our part 2 of this series, we will discuss the measures that have to be taken for virtual and real to be the same. Multinational companies, they say they operate more efficiently when people are working from home. They have seen productivity gains with a lot of people staying at home. It can't be said for our court system. We have suffered, we saw Dr. Singhvi saying 1.2 crore cases added. What those changes are, what needs to be done. Appointment of judges, of course, is a case in point, but that will be for our next show. For now, I thank Dr. Singhvi, Senior Advocate Parag Tripathi, Mr. Ryan Karanjawala, Mr. Mahesh Agarwal for sparing time for such an important issue which affects all of us. Thank you so much.